Hey, welcome. So let's do a quick review of just what we did. So we started in this module called formulas and validations. And this is a pretty complex validation rule one at the bottom. And although it says it takes 45 minutes, we all know that it took longer because we went through it together. So talk about formula fields. That and if you can open up your playground, and then I gotta not touch my eyes. And the scare is on. Is the scare on in your neighborhood? Okay. Oh, there's my validation rule that I was working on. So we talked about formulas and validation rules, right? So when we're creating fields in an object, one of the tools we have is to create formula fields. Formula fields are what's called runtime fields. They run at the time you access that record or that, yeah. So if that record comes up in a search result, in a list view, or you open that record from wherever you open that record from, the formula is stored in that field. And let's see if we have any. The formula is stored in that field, and did we not create any formula fields? Well, we created some roll-up summary fields, which are different kinds of formula fields. So let me go back to the trailhead. Let's see what it said to do.
Hey, can you send us the link on where you're at, please?
Sure. Contract object, okay. So we're inside, actually, I'm gonna send you back to something else. So I'll start with the trail mix itself, just in case you're not up with trail mix number 3. So we're in phase 3. And then from phase 3, we're working on the formulas and validations module. Hey, Julia, in that real compact city of New York, are y'all, how are y'all preparing to work from home? Is that what, are y'all preparing to work from home now?
Yeah, I mean, my business hasn't told anyone to work from home, but all of Salesforce is closed until the end of March. Like everyone's working from home at Salesforce. So,
it's a new
people
era.
are definitely being cautious.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, I know their office is all closed, and Indeed's office is all closed.
Yeah. Is that New York that did that? Because I know in Atlanta, Amy, did they say they did that yet in Atlanta? Like they was talking about, they haven't decided on that, correct?
I don't have confirmation on that yet. There is talk of it, but no confirmation yet about it closing.
I know like Boston Salesforce office is still open and things like that. I think they just found like 80 more cases in New York this weekend or something. So that's why they did it. But I'm personally at home right now, so I don't know. Just carrying lots of Purell.
Well, and I just got a text and a message today from my kids' school that Fulton County Schools has now found the first recorded virus, and now they're shutting everything down for a couple of days so they can clean up, disinfect, and really, hopefully, those little germ sponges called kids will, get tested, and people get tested, right? Because it's really I think the most dangerous part of this thing, that, as I understand it, is that the symptoms are mild, so you don't think you have it, which is fine. A mild cold is no big deal. I'm just getting over a cold myself, but a mild cold is no big deal. But if you're susceptible to death, then it'll kill you, which is you know, sucks or some 2% or whatever, plus or minus. So, all right. So we're looking at formula field. Anyway, I hope you guys are okay. I know I'm working from home. I'm really happy about that. So we started with formula fields, and I just want to show you in the formula, I'm just going the one we know we did it on, the contract object. We wrote a formula field. And a couple of things I want to share with you about formula fields is that, a formula field does not store data. It only stores the formula. So in this case, if you can see what my screen looks like, and Julia, I apologize. I got a chat. Hang on. Let's see what it is. Hey, Brian, I'm in a car driving back to Virginia, so be muted just listening. Thanks, Brian. Actually, I don't care if you text and drive. I care that you can drive while you text. So if you can drive while you text, good for you. So no problem. So remember, formula, this is good for the test. Just remember, formula fields do not store the data. They store the formula. That's why the technical term is a runtime formula. Now, another kind of field that acts like a formula field is a roll-up summary field. And a roll-up summary field does store the data in the field. So if you looked at, it's hard to tell the difference, but a roll-up summary field, if I look at sum of opportunities, then what it does, it looks at all of the child, I'm going to look at it this way. It looks at all of the children of the formula and does the math and stores the math at the parent level. So roll-up summary fields have the distinction of you can only do them when there's a parent-child relationship, which is any lookup field, right? When you do a lookup, you're looking up to the parent, which contact is on this case, which account is with this contact, which account owns this opportunity. All those are lookup fields. The distinction of a required lookup field is called a master detail. That is, without the parent, the child cannot exist. So think about contact and account. A contact can't live without the account. So there's technically a master detail relationship built in, except for one thing. It's a standard object, so you couldn't delete the contact object anyway. But anytime you delete the child in a master detail lookup, if you delete the parent, you also delete the children because they're required. So, for example, there is, I don't know if we don't have it built in this one, but there's a common application called the recruiting app. And in the recruiting app, I'm just going to get my drawing. In the recruiting app, you've got this thing called job application. And the job application exists because there's a job and an applicant. The applicant can have make many applications. The candidate can make many, I'm sorry. The candidate can have, this is a candidate, a person, right? They can apply for many jobs, right, Julia? One candidate applies for many jobs. And one job can have many candidates. But if you delete the job, if you delete the job, what good are all the job applications, right? They're all gone. So, in the Sarbanes-Oxley, well, that would never happen, but you get the point, right? So goes the job record, so goes all the application records as well, because they're relying on the job or the candidate. If you delete the candidate, all of their applications will disappear because there is no candidate to have in there. So that's the distinction of the master detail relationship. When there is a master detail relationship, then you can invoke account. So anytime the child, right? If I'm, this field that we created was sum of opportunities. So as the child record saves, it does the calculation to add or subtract that number that was there from the total, so that you always have an accurate account stored in the parent object. Does that make sense? Your parents got 3 kids. Something happens to one of the kids, they now got 2 kids, right? So the kid has a kid, then they got grandkids. Anyway, so any questions about that in formula fields or roll-up summary fields? Now, validation rules, if you got stuck on this one like I did, I'm going to go back to this booger here. In my account object manager, I've got a validation rule. This is where we got stuck. Was it here? We started talking about validation rules. So here's the rule about validation rules. In Salesforce, when you have a rule, and if the rule is based upon, if in order to trigger the validation rule, that is when a validation rule triggers, it stops the saving of a record. So if you remember, there are 2 kinds of validation rules that happen in Salesforce. One is the system validation. System validation. And what is that? So remember when we set up a field in Salesforce, when you create a new field, then whatever type of field you create, the first thing is it required? Now, this is a phone number field, so it's going to look for 10 digits in the phone number, right? Whereas is the data type, let me make my screen a little smaller. Is the data type the type selected? So if it's currency, am I getting numbers? If it's a date, am I getting a date? If it's an email, am I getting an email? So the first system validation rule is, does the data match the type of data that the field contains? The second thing that it looks for is the field required? So if the field is required, then it's going to say, okay, I picked the phone number. So if I pick text, for example, if the field is required, then upon save, everybody has to make sure that the system is going to require that field have data regardless of who's entering the record or how it's entered, which means a system requirement of required makes that field available on all your record pages to all your profiles. Every user in your system has to be able to update that field. So you eliminate field level security or even page level security. That field has to show up on the page because the system requires it. Now, whether the field is unique or not really depends upon, is it the only value in your system? So the social security number or the phone number or the email you could make unique. Now, that is because only 3 types of fields could be unique. And that is a email address, a number, or a text field. Think about this. Now, I know you're thinking, what about social security number? Yeah, that's a number. So in a number field, think social security number, right? That's a field that you can make unique. A password is made of text. That you can make unique. I'll show you that. And again, if you created 10 fields a day of every type of field, you would know over time that, oh yeah, that could be unique. Let me go back. And what's the other one? An email address. An email address can be also unique. So think about a username is in the form of an email address. All usernames in Salesforce are unique across the ecosystem. It's in the format of an email. Emails are unique. Only one person can have one email address. Only crazy couples share email addresses, and those men need a slap upside the head. All right? So other fields you can't make them unique, but that's just one of the things. Now, so whether it's required, unique, or the format is a system validation rule. Other than that, you're now talking about custom validation rules. And custom validation rules, I think this is on the contact, we built this one. In that exercise, I believe it is. So the contact validation rule, there we go, is after the system says, okay, all your fields are good as far as I'm concerned, system, all the technology, the hardware, right? Now we go to your business rules. In your business rules, what are the rules? So the contact must be in a zip code, in the same zip code as the account. So this is really easy, that your mailing postal code does not equal the shipping code on the account. Now you might say, well, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for it to equal. That's right. So if a system validation rule is true, that is, the contact's mailing zip code does not equal the account's shipping zip code, then that triggers true, which activates the validation rule to stop the save. So true triggers action, TTA. True triggers action. If this is true, then do that, right? If this, then that. So you always set up your validation rules to trigger if your Boolean, which is your formula, triggers true. So in this case, mailing postal code does not equal the shipping code. Now, it says in a hint for the validation rule, and these are a bunch of examples of the validation rule, that you should also look for, in order to pass this, the is blank function for this check. Now that takes a little bit of understanding. So I want to pick this back up where we left off, and I only want to check this if it's not blank. So is blank is the mailing postal code. Let me see if that works for a second. So the only reason I should check this let's see if that works first. So I'm going to check, see if that's a valid. No errors found. So is blank most of postcode? That would be another one. So well, if it's blank, that would be one thing to do. And or let's see, or is blank, and then my operator, or. So I'm going with this. So is the mailing code blank? If the contact zip code is blank, or if it doesn't match the shipping postal code, then give me the error message. The address of the contact must have a zip code or be the same zip code as the account. That's a good, clean error message. And I'm going to put that error message right there at the zip postal code. And now I'm going to save that rule, see if it works. And I'm going to test it by running. Well, first I'm going to see if it's correct, but then I'm going to just run it on a contact. I'm going to go to my account, actually. And I'm going to add a new contact. But first, I want to see what their zip code is. 27215. So I'm going to create a new contact. Mr. Dwayne. Oh, already got Dwayne. Now, interestingly enough, on this form, it says, yeah, so that part worked. Yeah, it didn't like the way I did my formula, although it works. So the problem with this now is that this form doesn't actually, see if this form does something different. All right, so you notice what I did. On the account action button, it's an object action button, it brings up an abbreviated contact form, which doesn't allow me to put in a zip code. So it'll never save the record given my validation rule. This contact form on the related list does give me that ability. Now, I think it automatically inherits the company's address, so it's got to save now. So what's my zip code? Why didn't it? 27215. So yeah, I screwed up my, it's for some reason, I'm not great at formulas, just so you know. So I'm gonna blow it all. Actually, I'm gonna show you how to find every answer. 27215. Yeah, that's the same one. So something's wrong with my validation rule. So I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna put it on the recording. All right, so watch this. Formulas. Somewhere in the community, somebody has asked this question. So let's see. How old is this? Again, people ask different questions different way. Nope, that's a different bit. It's a different one in the developer side. Let's see, Trailhead. This is an old question. So this is what, I'm gonna try this one. See if that one actually works. And I'll post it to you guys. Let's see if it works first. And I'll show you what, again, I'm not good at formulas, like I'm not great at them. Let's try this one. So I make sense to me, but I just wouldn't have thought of it. So this is an and. So mailing does not equal shipping code. And I guess that's an or, and it's not blank. So let's just check the syntax on that one. Let's save it. And let's go to my account. See if I can actually create that. Because clearly the one I did it, Dwayne. All right, so that worked. Let's see if that's actually the validation rule that it's looking for. and then we'll talk about that rule. So again, formulas are tricky. That's what you need to know by formulas. All you need to know for the test is that formulas don't store values. Roll-up summary fields need a parent and a master detail relationship. They only work on the parent. That was the right formula. I'm going to post it so you can complete your challenge. And woohoo! Lordy, lordy. And by the way, I just demonstrated to you guys how you solve every problem in Salesforce. You don't kill yourself for not knowing. You go ask somebody who does. So Julia, you probably get a lot of guys because you recruit a lot. So some of your resources, you just reach out to those guys you've given work to. Some of them are really good at formulas. I know a guy named Handy Degbion, and Handy charges $65 an hour, and he's really good at formulas. And I didn't reach out to Handy on this because I didn't want to pay for it. Try to find it for free if you can. But learn from the help you get out there. Don't just do it, right? Learn what I did. I said, so this was an and or. And I don't know if that comma made a difference or not. So it's two functions. It's not equal and it's not blank. Oh, so the account is not blank. That's what it needed to check. But something was wrong with mine because I did the postal code not equal, then I did or it's not blank on the field, and I might have picked the wrong mailing. I picked it the way I thought it would work. But hey, look, sometimes your logic's wrong. That's it. That's it. So you got to think it out in terms of business rules. So, and I know a lot about your business, Brian, right? And because Amy used to work there. You can't confirm a speaking engagement without a deposit. So if you track the deposit and you go to try to confirm an opportunity, let's say you call it confirmed or booked, you might hold it without a deposit, but then, they've got 15 days in order to send you a payment. And if you try to move to confirmed, you could stop the whole thing and say, nope, can't, we don't have a payment yet. And again, just think about the rules of your business, and you got to write out all the rules. When this happens, do we do this or not? Everything's a decision tree, and you kind of got to work it out that way. So this is saying really simple. If the account has an address and you add a contact, they should match. Now, in reality, this is one of my things I don't like about Trailhead, is that, yeah, well, that's all good and well. What's the problem? The problem is when we actually create a new contact, right? Like if I create a new contact here and the contact I'm creating is Josh and I click save, it's going to save. Why? Because one of the automatic features of Salesforce is that the contact inherits. This is what I call lazy instructional design, not really understanding the system. The contact, this isn't like what I call a usable one, because the contact inherits the address of the account. And if it didn't, oh, okay. So in that action button, it didn't, but in the interesting, so it's different the way these two different action buttons. So this is a different action button than the one on top. And now, if I change that address, that one picked up, and this should actually kick it back as an error. What? Look at that. That is wrong. See, I know Burlington's got an address. I picked it up just now. I hate it when this stuff doesn't work like it's supposed to. Oh, remember, the shipping address is blank. Ah, well, ain't that something? So let's copy that. And let's say they're at South. And the zip code is 27218. This is where it gets weird. I mean, really weird, but you know, that's part of being an admin and doing sales ops. You got to figure out every situation on its own and then understand what you're working with. And it gets complicated and it's a pain in the doobies. But now when I go to edit this contact, because the shipping address wasn't blank, and now I know my mailing address, should kick it back. Yep. So if I go, as long as that zip code matches, what did I write it as? 27217? $27218. Okay. Because remember, that's what it's saying the mailing postal code and the shipping code, zip code should be the same. And it happens whenever, even the record was saved in there with bad data. Once I add that validation rule, anytime I edit one of those records, it's on save. It's now going to look for that zip code 27218 in order to save that record. As long as that matches, it's good. Now, as you can tell, that's a pretty weak validation rule because I just put in a zip code. And I also noticed that my message was it should say the mailing address of the contact must have a zip code the same as the because remember, you got to communicate to your people too what's going on. You can't just tell them that's an error, go figure it out. You got to put it in human language. The mailing address of the contact must have a zip code the same as the shipping address of the account. Now I can probably reword that a little better. Mailing address of the contact must have a zip code that matches the shipping address of the account. So there you go. Now, if you really, really, really wanted that to happen, you could even, in an advanced class, when we get to advanced class, you could just update it. You can just create a process that updates the address with you could just update the mailing address. Why not? Why make the user do that? This is when we get to automation. Why even bother with a validation rule when you could just create automation that says the contacts, upon save of a record, the contact gets the mailing address of the shipping address of the account that they belong to. Boom, end of story. Does that make sense, everybody? Or the billing address. Mailing and billing should be the same. So it depends, but it depends on your business and how do you use the data in your business? That's the main thing you want to figure out. So that being said, woo, we got done with that. But what are your questions, comments, or concerns? Is that making sense? Now here's one, good. I haven't done it yet, so I'll know I'm not done yet. So we're going to jump into pick list administration. And this should be pretty simple. We should probably take up the rest of the call with this one. So what are pick list fields? Well, pick list fields, not pickles, Jules, not pickles. Pick list fields are predefined text so that you get consistency, you get searchability, you get filterability. And there's two types of pick list fields. So when to use a pick list, you know, it's giving your users a selection. I know this is so funny. Can I do snack grape? It gives them a selection to choose from. The good news about that is it saves them data entry time. The bad news about that is it limits what they can enter based on just those pick lists. And you probably even created a few of them already. So they're basically simplify data entry and standardize. The big thing is they standardize the values. They also make it easier to filter and sort data in your database. So they're when you're doing repetitive tasks. So again, when you want less variation in a repetitive task, you got to select one of the choices. But again, sometimes you have an option where when you're developing pick list values, you're running into the challenge of not having a value that a user thinks that they should have. And so their minds go, well, I can't click. And so then they get emails and all that, and you have to add pick list values or explain to them why the ones they have are okay and how to interpret those values. So they really should match the lexicon. And if you don't know what they are or should be, my recommendation is start with text fields and then run reports to figure out what the consistency is and what the variation is to see what's going on. So there's two kinds of pick lists. So let's see if it's the two parts. So it's the type of pick list, whether it's a single select or a multi-select pick list. And whether or not the field you're choosing is the values are dependent upon, this is the same. So there's the field and then the values that you choose from, right? So the field defines the type of pick list, whether it's single or multiple pick list. The value set or the choices you have for each field. And some of those can be dependent upon other fields. So if, think of a survey tree. Hey, do you use computers? Yes. Okay, great. Here's now the next set of questions is, what kind do you use, Mac or PC? Mac. Okay, great. If you have a Mac, then what operating system are you up to? And it limits the choices to just Mac operating systems versus having an open field that says, what kind of operating system do you use? And getting a text value of Mac. Yeah, but I wanted which operating system, because the question was, which operating system do you use? And they said, I use Mac. Okay, thank you for not being specific because you're a human. I get it. It all makes sense to you, but I'm trying to find out, are you on 10.9, 10.10, 11.2, 12.1, 13.3, right? I'm trying to find something specific. So you can cascade those. Oh, you use a Mac? Are you on this? Are you on that? Here's how you check, those things. So there are standard pick lists, which are the ones that are pre-built that come in and all you can change are the values. Custom pick list values, which you create from scratch, and then custom multi-select. Why are there no standard multi-selects? Who wants to take a stab at answering that one? Why are there no standard multi-selects? You're going to hate me.
Well, because they're called custom multi-selects. So they can't be standard, can they?
That's right. So there, Salesforce didn't create any standard multi-selects. That's why there aren't there. That's why there's only custom ones, right? So that's really great, Amy. Thank you. Now, the properties of a pick list field are simple. They are either restricted, so that you're saying that you can only enter in values from this pick list, which means when you're importing records that have different values, it'll let you import them. Or the pick list is dependent on some other pick list that you've chosen, or it controls what another pick list can choose. So there's two properties: restricted, dependent, or controlling. Now, values can be defined. There's two ways to kind of create the value set. So you can set those values when you create the pick list. They're specific to that single pick list field. You can use the built-in set of values for standard pick list fields that come with the org, or you can adjust you can customize those. Either way, they're individual for that field. But standard. The other one is you can create a global pick list value set, which means, here's my example that I use when I teach the 5-day class. Let's say you got a bunch of rating fields. How would you rate the class? How would you rate the food? How would you rate the room? How would you rate the walk to the room? How would you rate the walk from the room? How would you rate the bathrooms? I'd rate, 1 to 5, 1 to 5, 1 to 5, 1 to 5. And then all of a sudden you take a statistics class and you realize a 1 to 5 rating scale really is the wrong scale because of people's perfection bias. That means that people don't like giving perfect scores, so they'll give you a 4 instead of a 5, which really skews your results because a 5-point scale doesn't give you room to adjust for people giving 9s when they're just as happy as someone who gave a 10. So you decide that you're going to change all those fields to a 10-point Likert scale. And would you rather update 10 different fields or one field that automatically updates the other 9 or all 10? And the answer, of course, is I just want to update 1 to 5 to 1 to 10 and have it apply. So you have a global pick list value set because you use those pick list values across more than one field. Doesn't matter if it's the same object or different, it's global, which means you can access them from any object and use that set of values for any pick list. Does that make sense? Okay, standard pick lists. These are the ones that came hardwired in the system. Because they're hardwired, there's a couple of characteristics about them that you need to be aware of. Like the lead source or the opportunity stage pick list and others, right? They're all pick list values. It's basically what we've learned over 20 years at Salesforce about what fields and what are the typical results. But your business is unique. You have some standard, you have stuff that you need that you want to make sure you have. Now, standard pick list fields sometimes share a standard value set. Like on the lead object, the source pick list are standard so that they actually also you use the same pick list values for the account source. Why? Because whether you use leads or not, it's really the first step in creating a new record. You might create a lead and have a list of values for lead source, or you might skip the lead and create an account with a contact so you have the same one. So that's one of the few standard ones that share a global pick list value set. Now here's some more things you can do with them. So custom pick lists are just that. So you can create a custom pick list value and then you enter the values on the line for that field in that object. So it's just for that field, a set of values. Notice right above it, it says you could use the global pick list value set. Now, you have a couple of choices. You can display those alphabetically no matter how you enter them. You could use the first value as a default. You could pick the default. Either way, it's part of the dynamic of that pick list value set. You could also choose whether to restrict those values to the ones that are defined in the value set. If you want to accept new values in the field, you can always unrestrict it and let users enter something they want directly, which creates variation in your data, but also doesn't stop your users from engaging and doesn't frustrate them and really supports adoption. So think about how Salesforce sells Salesforce. When you get Salesforce out of the box, remember I said everything is wide open. No, the OWD is fully public. The profiles, all the standard profiles have all the abilities you want, plus added features that you get on the user record for distinct jobs. But really, it's wild, wild west. Do what you want, because they figured out if you let people do what they want before they know what they're doing, they'll still pay you every month. If you shut them down and make them figure out how to do all this stuff, they'll just quit and say it doesn't work, and then you lose money, and you can't afford to have the tallest building on an earthquake fault in the world, at least in the United States. So there's that. I just thought of something hilarious, but it's totally inhumane. I can't say it. Okay. Again, a pick list field is like any other field. You can set the field level security, and you can choose which pages to put them on. Okay. So I don't think you can make them required, but maybe you can. Now, you'll also see that if you create custom pick list fields, they, like every other custom field, has a _C at the end of the API name to let you know it's a custom field. Now, multi-select pick lists are just that. They allow you to pick more than one value from a list of values. So it's multi-select, and the way it looks is if you want to say, what kinds of flavors do you offer? Well, I got gingerbread, strawberry, chocolate. I don't have those other crazy ones, right? So you can pick more than one value. The challenge with that is you create there's some limitations of a multi-select value, in that it's harder to filter. It's harder, you can't use it as a controlling field because you got variation. So it lacks a little certainty. For a variety of reasons, it's not a problem. It's just what true of it is. So you have some pick list values not on the test. You can convert a custom to multi-select. And you can convert a multi-select to a pick list that doesn't support multi-select. Salesforce clears the values for the field. New field only allows one value. Anyway, so in any field that has had multiple selections, it'll just pick the first one as the one value. C values, you'll get 3 different groupings. Oh yeah, so it treats the group of results as a single result. So if you have A, B, and C, B and C, and C, then you're going to get a grouping that has A, B, and C, B and C, and then C, but not all A's, all B's, all C's. But you did that to yourself because you use multi-select. I personally kind of hate multi-select pick list values. I don't think I've not run into a lot of situations where it's helpful, but only in situations where I didn't have to run reports did it matter. You could do this hold down the control key or command key on Mac, and you can select multiples and then move them over. Now, again, restricted limits the values to just the ones you have, even on an import. So it'll kick back a record on an import that doesn't exactly match one of the pick list values in the system, whether it's global pick list or just the field pick list. But again, it's that restrict pick list values to the value set. Now, dependent and controlling is on the test. And you got to pay close attention, and we'll go through this when we practice. So dependent values are this. So I want to pick a state. Excuse me. But I deal with multiple countries, and multiple countries have states or provinces. Provinces. States. Okay, we'll go with states. So I say, I pick the country of United States of America, right? I pick the USA, so I'm limited to the 50 United States. But my pick list value for states might include all of Canada, all of Mexico, all of France, all of Germany, all of Europe, all of the UK, all of that, right? So it's all of those states can be, I don't want to scroll through the whole list of all these different country states. I want to filter it so it's just the states in the United States. You can even have one that's, state, region, state, like if you want to get it down to that list, depending on how you want to do it. So again, there's a controlling field which limits the values in the dependent field. So the values you pick are dependent on the pick you had before. So this is a great little comparison. So you can add or remove any field from any page layout unless it's required. You can't delete standard because it's hardwired. You can't use a formula for a default value in standard because that would just doesn't work. Neither can you select multiple values in a standard field because that's not how they wired it. Or in a custom pick list field. You can't restrict standard pick lists. Standard pick list fields are unrestricted, so you can put anything you want in there. And they cannot, because they're hardwired, they cannot be dependent. So we'll talk more about controlling independent fields, right? So a checkbox can be a controlling field that cannot be a dependent field. Why? Because a checkbox only has a 0 or a 1. And if you make it dependent, then it is one of those by default automatically. So it can't be, you can't choose anything because you only have 2 choices. So it's either on or off. So you don't even need that because the previous selection chose it for you. But you can say, do they have a laptop? Yes or no. If they have a laptop, what kind is it? You don't need to know what kind, you don't need to know any of the values if they don't even have a laptop, right? So you can eliminate a lot of data entry by having some really clear fields. So this is going to be a hands-on challenge. So we're going to create some fields. This is awesome. What are we going to do? All right. So we're going to create in our product object a pick list field called macaroon flavor. I'm getting so delicious. So we're going to do, let's go into our setup menu and we're going to pick our product object and we're going to add a product. Field called macaroon flavors. So I'm going to create a pick list field. So again, if you go on this, if you haven't opened up, if you don't still have setup open, click the setup menu, go to the object manager, filter for product, go to fields and relationships and click new. And if you need time, let me know. So macaroon flavor. Now again, if I was going to use these flavors somewhere else, then of course I would paste them there. But these are my macaroon flavors. And I want to restrict those values in the set. So I leave, that's default. I'm going to add it to all the profiles. Remember, that's something we do. And all of the page layouts. And that's it. That's as simple as it gets. Let's see if you earn 500 points. What'd I call it? Oh, macaron. What? It's not macaroon? My bad. See, computers are dumb. They only do exactly what you tell them. So it's a macaron. Macaron. And I said, I thought I should have copied it first, but yeah, meh, meh. What are some other pick list fields you use in what you would use in your business? Amy, this is good for you because we got to create some for our little company org already, right? What type of a lead is it? What type of opportunity is it? What type of account is it, right? It's company, customer, vendor, partner, supplier, not vendor, supplier is the same, competitor, consultant. Like we get all these, macaron flavor. Oh, I didn't save it. Why didn't it save? Right? Brian, you got, I know in your business, if you're listening in, you've got bureaus, you got company type of accounts, you've got, so you could have a bureau opportunity for Waldo. You could have a direct opportunity with Waldo. Yay! Right? You've got vendors type of accounts. You could have a pick list for those. You could have a pick list for speakers, right? That person, what's some of the names of the speakers you got? You got Hurler.
And we got Bo.
You got Bo. You're gonna have Kip Dobbs soon, right? You're gonna have all these wingmen and wingnuts that he's gonna have. You got a wingnut kind of record and a wingman record, right? So you could, especially in your essentials editions that you can't use record types, you can use just a pick list field to determine what kind of record it is, so that you can report on those separately and separate your data, because data is only as good as you are going to use it. Okay, so that's pick lists. Let's talk about managing the pick list. Did everybody finish that first? Oh wait, let me go back to pick list administration. So pick list. And then we got started with pick lists. And yeah, Jules, I keep seeing pickles when I see pick lists. And now we're going to manage. Good. What's that?
I said it's so good.
Right on. Manage your pick list values. So Computer Futures had a party in Dreamforce and they had pickles all over the place. So that was great. All right, so managing your pick list values. That's what we're on to now. It says 20 minutes, but man, I want to finish pick list administration. So how do you manage the values? Where do you set your pick list? Two places. One, so pick list fields are associated with their object, and you set and manage pick lists in the same place you add or manage other fields, under fields and relationships. So when you look at the relationship page, there's a little thing called indexed. And what that means is it's optimized for search. And it's stored in the database in a way that supports quick retrieval. So that helps you filter and sort records, because that index field is kind of like an Uber search field. Salesforce figures that out for you. They do a lot of smart stuff. Anyway, so you can also manage pick list values from the pick list field, right? You can add new values, you can reorder them, you can replace them, you can even delete them or deactivate them. So what does that mean? It means you can add a new value, you can change the order of the existing values, you can replace one value with another, which means it'll overwrite. So when you add a new value, let's say you add coconut as your macaron flavor, right? So where's my macaron flavors? So I could add a new flavor, right? They have coconut? No. So I could add coconut, right? I like coconut. Break them open, they smell like, all right. So I could add coconut, or I could replace coconut. I want to go from anything record that's coconut, I could change to vanilla and replace all my blank values with vanilla in every record if I want, or replace blank values. So that's in a queue, so it's rewriting. So replacing rewrites the record from one value to another. Adding a new one just adds a new value that you can select to add to a customer. If you want to deactivate, right, that was like an update. I want to replace coconut with vanilla because all of our, wherever it hits, I wanted that. And then I could also deactivate coconut so that it's no longer a list value, but it leaves all the values in the database the same. Let's see, so you've also got your printable view, which I forgot about earlier today, and I could have used that myself so that you can get a real quick value of those instead of copying and pasting all this and trying to get rid of all the junk. And then there's another this thing that, so there's a question that's still lingering on the test. And you could change the chart colors manually in the pick list value set of the pick list values for chart colors. So you can assign them dynamically, or you can pick them manually. So you want them to have different colors specifically because it's going to show up on reports and you want the colors to come across. You could totally do that. That tends to be, it's just the pick list values. It's on the test. I just want to point it out. You may not see it anymore. So again, if pick list values are active, you can select them. If they're inactive, you can't select them. So you can add them and back. You got seasonal stuff. You can add them, activate and deactivate if you want to limit your choices to people, especially if these pick list values go to your website on, say, a web to lead or a web to case, and you're pulling from that field value as somebody's maybe doing an order. You got some limitations, but you never have to worry about those. I mean, on the test. You have to worry about them in real life, but not on the test. If you, again, read this, if you to keep the values on existing records, you deactivate. If you delete the value, so if I go here and delete the coconut value, let's see, let me activate it again. I don't know if it matters either way, but let me just try from an active value. If I want to delete the values, it's going to ask me what I want to replace it with, or do I want to replace it with a blank value? So you have a choice, right? Let me see if it does the same thing on a deactive value. Inactive value, not deactivate is an action. Inactive is a state. So if I delete that, yep, it does the same thing. What do you want to replace it with? Coconut, chocolate, or replace it with a blank? So again, the same things apply. I thought so, but why would I remember? I need to test it by clicking it. This is where you get memory, right here in your fingertips, right here. Look at that. That's your memory stick. Click, click and look. All right. To replace a value, then you create the new value first, then you click replace like I showed you already. So again, if I'm going to replace a value, what am I replacing what with what? So I'm replacing coconut with, I decided, gingerbread. And I can also replace blank values. To edit the pick list values, you just simply do that. You look at the values related list, you click edit, and then you can update it. You change the label, you change the API name, you can make it the default, and you can change the chart color. How that value appears in reports and dashboards. Otherwise, the color is assigned dynamically. Now, why is the API name important? Well, because it's typically auto-populated, you don't think about it, but it's important because it drives computer-to-computer communication. Remember, computers are dumb. They only do exactly what you tell them to do. So if in spring 17, they added this feature to it so that it has an API name. So even if you change the label, it doesn't actually affect the underlying name that's being used. You can have one label change, but the real name of the field kind of stays the same. Kind of like your maiden name. It's always going to be your maiden name, even if you make changes to it. All right. Controlling, dependent, and narrowing values. So narrowing values, what? That's new for me too. All right. Remember, this is a new list. I haven't completed all this yet. So dependent pick list fields narrow the available values based on the selection of the controlling field. So again, if you pick United States, you get the 50 states to pick from. The controlling field doesn't have to be a pick list. It could be a checkbox as well. So is it gluten-free? Great. Choose from gluten-free products. So to set that under fields and relationships, you look at field dependencies. So if I go to my product fields, I create new dependencies. So this is a really simple one. So you pick which is the controlling field. Notice controlling field can be any of your custom fields or any of your standard fields that are either checkboxes or pick lists. So let's say it's active and my dependent field is macaroon flavor. So that can be a good one. Let's see something else. Product family, macaroon flavor. Notice only my custom pick list fields can be dependent. So not standard fields because they're hardwired. They came out of the box working. You can't control that. All right. So let's continue. So all it does is this. So depending upon, so this is a checkbox, right? So if my only flavors of gluten-free are gingerbread, chocolate, no chocolate, yeah, and raspberry, pumpkin, you can include those values. Oh, I already did it. Notice I did double click to turn them on and off. If I select several of them, I can then include those values. And I say, oh, not meant. Let me exclude that value. So you could check, you just play with it. And once you're done, you can see how this works. So if my product family is none, then those are these. Otherwise, you get nothing. All right, so as long as that's not a very good control, let's go back. This is a horrible one, but that's how field dependencies work. We'll get into it in a minute. See if there's an example. Well, we just did it. So, okay. Custom pick lists can be either controlling or dependent. Standard can be controlling. Multi-select can be dependent but not controlling. You can set the default values for controlling fields but not for dependents. And if your org uses record types, you could use a record type to test how it affects your controlling and dependent pick list values. Another way to say it is a record type is like a big controlling field for pick list values. So if it's a customer record type, then you might have 3 different kinds of customers, right? Like a prospect, a current customer, and an inactive customer. Whereas if it's a vendor record type, you might have different pick list value sets, like all in the same field, so you don't have to create a new field to filter on, because it's just distinguishing different choices for the same data that you're looking for. Now you can use, this is interesting, this is new to me too, you can use formulas for default pick list values. So let's assign a dynamic value. It means based on other conditions and values from other fields, the pick list default value can change. So setting the right default can speed data entry a lot. Like you can just pick the earlier things and then go on. So you can change the default based on the person's profile, view in the field. Or like, so somebody in sales versus somebody who's an executive, they might have more choices than somebody else. Or like for your purchases. So depending on how many purchases, whether they're a frequent customer. I don't really understand that one. I got to work through it. So this one, there's a formula field down at the bottom that you can, again, add another formula field. If you haven't had enough formula in your life, then you can do that. So for example, this one is, let's see what this little sucker says. So if the case month this case is a calculator field. I don't remember what case does, but it's saying in this month, as of today, how many cases they had. I don't understand this one. They don't explain it. I don't explain it. So that's pretty complex, and it's not on the test. So I'm going to kind of skip it for now, just because I don't see any value in it while we're in this stage doing it, course, breaking it up like this. So if you change the field type to allow or prevent multi-selection, notice you might lose your inactive values. So you can change it. You can change your field type. Anytime you change a field type, you risk losing data. So if I go from text to number, then I'm going to lose data that has alpha characters in it instead of just numeric characters, or vice versa. You could change a multi-select to a pick list by changing the field type. But when you do that, it clears the values for the field on existing records, because the field now only has one value. I'm not sure if that's really saying, so for example, remember that field that had A, B, and C, and another one had C? Does it clear both of them, or just the one with A, B, and C? So anyway, I don't know. I got to test it, and who could change next week anyway. So no bother. Remember, it's not on the test. Okay, so you have flexibility with managing pick lists, but we'll see. Oh, this is what it wants to do. Oh, okay. So we're going to get to do this one then. Awesome. So this is stupid because all you got to do is copy it. All right. What we're saying is flavor of the month is determined by the month, right? So the flavor of the month, let's see how case works. I'm not familiar with how the case function works, but let's go back to our macaroni. So I'm in the macaron. I'm going to click edit. So I'm in the challenge now, right? So you're in the challenge. Oh, I see what it's saying. So flavor of the month, we'll look at case a little more detail. You can look up case. I don't know what that is. I've seen it before. I used it once before. So it looks at the field month based on today. It's at how do you know the month based on today? Month 1 is gingerbread, 2 is strawberry, month 4 is chocolate, 7 is raspberry, 11 is pumpkin, 12 is mint. Otherwise, It's all vanilla. So in the case of the month being the first month of your year. So remember some of the things we said at the company info. Month 1 does not necessarily mean January. It's the first month of your year. So if your year starts in April, that's April. Whereas the second month to get strawberry, that could be May or it could be February. Depends on your fiscal year or your current year. If your fiscal year matches the, and I think you could probably change that to calendar month versus fiscal year month. I don't know. That's how I guess. It may not do it at all. We'll see. So I got my product. I'm going down to my default. So I'm going to show the formula editor. And I'm going to paste that formula in. But if I want to know what case stands for, and I do, remember you can go to your function. So this checks an expression against a series of values. If the expression compares equal to any value, the corresponding result is returned. If it is not equal to any of the values, the else result is returned. Okay, so in the case of the month matching today, then if that equals 1, then choose gingerbread. If it equals 2, then could choose strawberry. Then 4, chocolate, 7, raspberry, 11, pumpkin, 12, mint, else vanilla. Okay, makes sense. Let me check my syntax. Let me save that. And then I'm going to check my challenge. What happened? Copied your formula. Huh. Case month today, 1, gingerbread, 2, strawberry, 4, 7, raspberry, 11, pumpkin, 12, mint, otherwise vanilla. Check my syntax. That's good. Let me click save. So if I look for that, let's just see what the product looks like. Did anybody else's work? Here's my macaron flavor. Sorry, I haven't done this yet. I didn't see this before. So don't bother following me around. Let's see if I can create a new product. Product family. Look at that. Default flavor was vanilla. It automatically, it works. I don't know what's wrong with that check. I could choose pumpkin, but my default flavor is vanilla. Why? Because I'm in month 3. I'm going to check that stupid challenge again. Ah. All right. Looks like there's a little hitch in the giddy up. I want my confetti. Damn it. Anyway, does that make sense to you guys? So what we did was, what we haven't done yet, we're managing pick list values, but what we haven't done yet, there we go. That's what I thought. So when it comes to fields and relationships, we've already talked about a couple of things. What we haven't talked about is your global pick list value set. I think we're going to do that next. Yeah, look at that. Share values with global value sets. So we're about to do that. Oh my Lord, so happy. Alt H. Nope. Yeah, I did Alt H. Okay. So the last one is global Now with global value sets, it's just that. It's a set of values that are available globally to any pick list field. So again, it's sharing those values so that you don't have to recreate them. So you don't have to recreate them field after field after field, and then it's easier to maintain and update. So when you're creating pick list fields, it's good to think, am I ever going to need these values in another pick list field? Could be in a different object, could be the same object, different page, something, right? Am I ever going to use this? Am I going to create another field that has these same values? So sharing makes for easier carrying. Again, it's the nature of your business. If you're not, then having the pick list field hold the values is fine. And there's actually, I've seen a new feature where you can convert your pick list values to another field, make it a global value set, or vice versa. I can't remember. So global value sets are always restricted because it can be used in multiple fields, so it has to be consistent. Salesforce is never, here's another thing that I'm going to tell you about the test. Salesforce is never going to create a scenario where it fails. It's always going to work, right? So let's see if it wants us to do these. I think it does. So let's look and see. Can we copy these? So we're going to create a set of values, and we're going to give that global value set a name that we can reuse over and over again. And you should always put a description and how they're going to be used because that appears in the pick list description in the setup. And in order to use them in a field, you simply select them as opposed to, let me just show you. See if we have a, let's go to the global value set first. So let's do this one. So I'm going to go to my home tab and I'm going to type in value. Or you could have typed in pick list. So pick list value sets. So this is sets of pick list values. I'm going to click new. It's the same thing. Let's see what our exercise is going to be, if anything. So we're going to promote the values of the macaroon to a pick list value set. So let's go back. But let me just show you. We'll come back to that in a second, because that's going to be something else. Let's go back to the exercise. Okay. So again, you create a global value set, and then you could reuse it anywhere you want. So like ingredients, you can always use it. So if you've got a set, like this is great for like a recipe guide, right? So if you've got a set, no, like let's say you've got 10 ingredients, right? That you always use. Your bulk 10 ingredients, and you've got this thing where you create recipes using 2 or more of those ingredients. And you could have ingredient number 1, ingredient 2, 3, 4. It could share all the same value set because you don't have to redo it. I guess that's a good example. I don't know. Let's see. When you choose to add the value set instead of when you're creating a new field, right? When you're creating a new field, if it's a pick list field, remember what you saw before, in that you can either use a global pick list value set or enter the values themselves. So that's where that little choice comes from. Right now we have none, so we're going to create some in a minute. And again, you can manage those values for global set values. Same thing applies. You can edit, delete, deactivate, replace, or add new. You get all those same features and functions. And just the changes apply to all pick list fields that use that global value set, right? So it's like a common list that everybody's using. So it looks and behaves just like a pick list value in the detail page, although they're used globally. When you replace a value, it replaces it in the entire database. Whatever field is using that value, every field is going to have it overwritten with the new value when you do a replace. And it adds that value to all of the other pick list values. So you can define a default value for the global value set, and individual fields that use the global value set can have their own default values independent of the global value set's default. So you can set a global default, and then each individual field that you use it, you can set a different default. Extends to the formula default values too. If you want to set, you have a formula that sets an opportunity priority to high for all users in the fast response sales profile. Otherwise, value users the default set in the global value set. That's interesting. Now this is the one that's helpful. When the second time you're about to create that field with all the same values, you can take that field in the object. So I'm going back to the product object. I'm going to my macarons. And my macaron field, the flavor, because it's a pick list value set, I can promote that value set to a global value set and reuse it. So you don't even have to wonder. It's only the second time you use a field that you have to do it. I was waiting to find this. I knew it was somewhere. And then I can call it, I think we're going to do it again. We're going to call it flavors. That's the label. That's the name. And now we're promoted to a pick list value set. And you can see that now when I look at that field, where are my pick list values? Well, it's really simple. They're at the global value set level. So remember we had these global value sets under the home tab. There they are, Flavor Flaves. And of course, I can manage, edit these any way that I want, same way as before. I've got active and inactive values. I can add new, replace, reorder, all the whole 9 yards. So now we're gonna create shirts that represent the flavors in our object to finish this playground set. Okay, so I'm going to the product object, fields and relationships. I'm going to create a new field. So again, at the product objects, I'm going to create a new field called shirt, and I'm going to use the values that I just created when I converted. So I'll create a new pick list, call it shirt. And I don't have to retype, I just have to pick flavors. I could put a default formula in there, but I'm not. Add it to the product page layout. And check my challenge. Let me know how you did. Woohoo! I finally added a new badge on my profile. Yay, team. How'd you guys do? Let me know where you got stuck. This is where you talk. Let me know where you got stuck, if at all. See what I'm missing. What? I completed all this, man. What you doing? All right, I'm kind of looking to see. I got to prepare. We have this. Oh, we got a little project. So here's what I think I'm going to do. So today's Monday, correct? I want to pair you guys up to complete this project because this is a cohort and we haven't been very cohorty. So I'm going to pair you up, or you just work together, figure out how you're going to compare. Like y'all know each other some way. So in the chat, decide who's going to connect, who you're going to buddy up with. And supposed to hotkey it. All right, there. So you got an assignment. And this is the one? Yeah. Customize a Salesforce object. So this assignment should take a couple hours. And this is your homework assignment. So add this project to your trailhead if you don't have it. I'll send an email out in a minute. So you've got it. And this kind of goes through a lot of stuff all at once, and we'll come and revisit this next class. So it's a change. It's using some standard and custom fields, creating pick lists and field dependencies, creating a lookup filter. And if you get, wherever you get stuck, it's fine. I want you to work with each other to collaborate to get it done. Or you all put some, give me a yes in the chat box. So I'm going to put a question in there. And I know, Brian, you're driving, or at least you're riding while you drive. Okay, you can, that's awesome, Amy. I'm sorry about that. No problem. I'll get your response, but I'll say, so whom will you and we'll put that in the chat. And I'm going to send everybody's contact information. So reach out to each other, reach out to the community at large, but each other specifically, because I want you guys to connect. I know, Amy, you know Brian, and Amy, you know Gil, and Julia, you know me, but don't come to me because I'm busy as crap this week. I hate to put you off, but I want you to get to know each other. So if you would, chat back to me. I know Amy's struggling. Her computer's rebooting right now. That sucks. It totally sucks. And then you're back, Amy? Did it work? You're rebooting? Okay. So your laptop's rebooting right now? Just, no, your head? Okay, no worries. I can't hear you. But wait, what is it again? Oh, you got to I'm trying to unmute you, but I can't. No worries. Just do your thing. So what I'd like to do is put Julia and Gil together. And then Amy and Brian. Does that work for you, Amy? Oh, look at the big thumb. All right, because I know you know how to contact each other already. So Gil and Julia, y'all okay connecting? I think it'll make a good connection between you two. And give me somebody put it back in there. I got a thumbs up from Julia. So Gil, you've been selected. Gil, does it work for you? Maybe I'm not the monitor, I guess. I don't know.
Sure. Yep. I just need her contact.
Awesome. Okay. So with that in mind, let's talk about some of these things. We may not. Let me just kind of do a quick review. I'm sure we can make that happen. So working with standard and custom fields is about. Oh, yeah, Julia's put it in there. You're beautiful. You guys are awesome. Okay. So standard and custom fields is really about what you can't do with a standard field, which is not much. You can't change the field name, you can't change the field type, you can't change the field length, but you can change some things about it. And that'll walk you through that. Let's see who I got. I got Gil Brom, and then Gil, will you chat your email just to her, just so she's got it as well? I'm sure you'll email her, but just to make sure everybody's got it. And then creating pick lists and field dependencies we did. Now what we didn't do is creating lookup filters, but that's good because this is going to get you, I think, some experience around those. So, but again, don't just answer the questions. Go try it in the system. Who's that now? I'm going to mute Gil. Okay. So after lookup filters, you guys are awesome. Oh yeah, that's easy. Gil at gilbrom.com. Sure, make it easier on everybody. Why won't you click? All right, I'll just do that. So creating lookup filters, creating formula fields we did. Now here's where it's going to be fun. I don't think we've covered record types yet. And if we did, doesn't matter. I want you to do it. This will be a good start for it. Thank you, Julia and Gil, for being awesome. Record types, again, are like a database within a database. So it's a table within a table. I want to separate and create a hard line difference between my customer account records and my vendor account records and my competitor account records, right? Those are all, I don't want to reinvent the wheel of the account object. I want to slice and dice it because want to see different records. I want to see the same record different ways and allow different users to interact with those records. Now, Brian and Amy, because you use the essentials for your day-to-day work, you can't really do this. Gil, you have record types in your real job, and Julia, you probably don't have permission to mess with this anyway. So you might be able to go look at it, or you might ask your system administrator to give you some additional permissions to see some of this stuff and how they set it up at CF. If you want, if you want to take the leap in that, let them know you're being guided and coached and trained by one of Salesforce's top trainers. So, and I'm saying that in case anybody asks who said it. Okay. So,
yeah, I will.
I mean, just to look, and they can give you permission just to view some of this stuff, right? And if not, then just do it in the org that you have in the playground because it will work in the playground. Record types are a great way to extend page layouts to the same profile. And we'll talk about that when I get some slides. Enabling account field history tracking means that as changes happen to the account, you can track what it was to what it is and report on it. And then creating validation rules again. So all of this won't be too terribly unfamiliar except for record types, which, by the way, let me just pop in and go to the account object manager so I can show you what a record type looks like. So here is where you would define different record types. And by default, because it's the standard, all objects are one type of record. But when you want to extend the functionality of your database to include different types of records, it's hilarious. Okay. You need a record type to kind of put a hard separator, right? It's sort of like being at the grocery store, right? Everything in the grocery store is groceries. But your stuff is different than somebody else's stuff. So you put that little divider line like, yeah, your stuff ends here and my stuff ends there and your stuff starts there, right? So your stuff is here, my stuff is here, and the checkout line is going that way. So when you create a new record type, a couple things happen. One, let's just say you create it. So the master is what would be considered the master list of all your pick list values. So now I'm going to call a record type called customer record type. And it's going to be, but the first one is always enabled for all profiles. It's going to use an existing page layout. So you have multiple page layouts. This is where you can change the page layouts, right? So I'm going to have an account layout and I'm going to save that. Now I'm going to create another record type. Whoops. But here's what I want to see about the customer record type. So when it's talking about the master, so remember the list on all the pick list values is the same. However, for customers, I might, all of these things might be fine. But when I create a new record type, let's say for vendor, wait a minute, I'm going to go back a second. So here's the thing. Let's look at my page layout assignment because pick list values and page layouts are affected by the record type. So what this means is you've got a default. Master really means default or everything. And that includes all of those records. So all of those pick list values, all of those page layouts. So here I can change my assignments. I can choose the account layout. And I choose that it's all going to be the same account layout. And as I add page layouts, So if before you have a record type, every profile has access to just the think about it this way, it has access to one page layout. And you could, if you have multiple page layouts, you can assign one page layout to one profile. But once I've got a record type, then I could say, well, all of my depending on the kind of record that I am, let's see, wait, marketing, I'll just use marketing, right? So my marketing layout, they need to see the marketing person needs to see the marketing page layout, right? So they're looking at the same database, they just need to see the page layout differently. So my analytics, where's my salespeople, right? So I got a custom sales profile, and I could choose the sales layout, and my custom my system administrator could get the support layout, and my support person could get the support layout, and my cleaner might need to stay there. And then once I've added those selections, so now, depending on the type of record that it is, now this happens from now on, I can choose what kind of record. So if the record doesn't have a customer record type, right? The record type only affects new customers. So when I go to the accounts tab and I create a new account, it's going to choose that one. It's going to create a customer record type. Let me create another one first. So in my account, if I create another record type called vendor or consultant, let's go vendor, and make that active. I can enable it for all profiles, but I want to look at a vendor account record differently than I want something else. So let's say the marketing layout is for all vendors. That's all I need is the same information. So I apply that page layout to all my profiles, and I can make any changes as I want as I go along. Let me show it to you. So my page layouts are any record without a record type gets the master layout. Any record with a customer record type gets whatever I've assigned, and any vendor record type gets the marketing page layout. So how does that look? So when I create a new account, now that I've got two to choose from, why did it move? Oh, hold on. Why is this not working as expected? Anyway, depending on the kind of record that I choose when I create a new record, why is that not happening? Let's see. There it is. Okay, just need a second. So now I choose what kind of record am I creating? A customer or a vendor, right? So if I'm creating a customer, it's going to get the customer page layout. And if I create a vendor, it's going to get the vendor page layout. For example, I'm using marketing as one. Does that make sense? But because I am assigned to both record types, I can see the record both ways. If I didn't have that, if I just created a different page layout, then you're limited to the one page layout of each profile that's assigned to it. So what that means is if I got a different page layout, I create a new page layout for vendors and based it on the account layout, the regular account layout, I might want to lose a lot of my fields. Like I don't need to know if they're a vendor, I don't care about their revenue. I don't have any opportunities with them. I don't have any potential value. I don't care about the number of employees. I don't care about their SIC code. I don't care about their ticker symbol. Whatever I don't care about, right? I may not need that. I don't. I might need their account number. I might know they don't have any SLA information. I don't care about that. So I'm not selling them. They don't have any customer priority with me. And I can just put that there. So it could be a very different page layout. My related lists might be really different. I don't need to know. Let's see. I don't have opportunities with them. I don't have any partners. I don't have any energy audits. I don't have an account team. Right? All of these things I might not need. So I do a save. And now when I go to my page layout assignment, under my vendor, I could say, okay, if I'm going to assign the vendor record type to somebody in marketing, sales, support, community, and then so whoever's, right, any of these profiles, I could assign the vendor layout. And that way, when I open up one of those records, I'll see a record like that. So now that I've got that done, and again, I just demonstrated it. So under this account, if I create a new account, it's going to say, hey, what kind of account are you creating? Oh, I want to create that vendor one. And then when I create that vendor account, it's going to look abbreviated from, oh, SLA is what? I thought I took those off. So this is my account, and my detail section is going to be limited. It's going to, comparatively speaking, right? I'm going to have less information on it because I took all that away. Anyway, does that help? Anyway, so that's just a quick preview of what you're about to do in your assignment. So questions, comments, concerns before we drop off? All right, I got to go to my SLA stuff and see what's going on there. Is that required? It said it was required. Nope. All right. So anyway, I don't know how that got created like that, but we'll see. All right. Questions, comments? You guys good? You got your assignment? Amy and Brian, get this complete. Gil and Julia, complete this project, and we'll review that project together. So I know we've kind of slacked a little bit on collaborating as a cohort, but you guys are working together. So if you want to reach out to each other, that's cool too. I'm going to send you. You have everybody's email address on the calendar invite. So reach out to anybody for help that you need. And I'll see you guys on Thursday. If you need anything, reach out to Amy, and she'll be happy to help. I'm really busy, so if you can find time on my calendar, go ahead. If you can't, we're going to get more interactive as we get complete with some of this stuff, and then go on phase 4, which is getting all of the customization, and we're going to start doing some automation, which is really fun stuff to do. But let's get this, customize the Salesforce object, out of the way for now. So it's been like a good review for you. Okay. Thanks, guys. I'll see you Thursday. and let me know if you have any help you need. We'll go from there.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank
Bye.
you, guys. Appreciate it.